I recently did a video about I like my pastor, what should I do? In that video, someone left a comment about how do you know if you are called to be a pastor's wife? So I decided to do a video about that topic to answer that question. But first, I just want to share a little about myself. I'm a pastor's wife. My husband and I, we have been in ministry for 30 years. I create videos about being a pastor's wife to help pastors' wives. As a pastor's wife, I do understand the struggles and I know how important it is to have someone that you can talk to, someone that you can trust. So if you want to grow as a Christian wife, subscribe to my channel and click on the notification bell. Before I start talking about how I knew that I was called into ministry, I do want to say this. You don't have to come from a certain background to be called into ministry. I believe the reason why that God made it like that is because He understands how that we all are different. And if you're called to ministry, the type people that you are going to reach are people that's just like you. For example, my husband is a great preacher, but he is very funny. So when he preaches, a lot of times the stuff that he says is actually funny. But our members love him and they love him because they are similar to him. And he's able to reach and also to connect to them because they are a lot like he is. And the reason why I wanted to share that is because I was raised up in church and my mom, she was a pastor. She started pastoring when I was a baby. So once I became a pastor's wife, I did have an upper hand because I understood a lot about ministry in church. But even if you didn't go to church as a child and you may have just gotten saved, it doesn't mean that you're not called to do something for God in ministry. Because if you are called into ministry and the people that will follow you are going to be a lot like you and your spouse. You don't have to have a certain background or be a certain way. You just have to be called by God. God never did tell me that I was going to be a pastor's wife, but He did give me hints. And the hints had to do with my personality or some of the things that I desired. It was a good fit for ministry. I developed a good relationship with God as a child. My mom, she was a pastor and she was a full-time pastor and also evangelist. So she traveled around the United States and a lot of times she would be gone for weeks at a time. She was gone more than what she was at home. So as a child, I do remember feeling so lonely, and I also remember crying a lot because I just desired to be with my mom. I was also very introverted, so I wasn't comfortable with talking to people or just sharing my feelings. That opened up a door for me to talk to God because I felt like that I couldn't talk to anyone else or I didn't have the courage to talk to someone else. And I noticed the more I talked to God, the better I felt. And I can even remember when I realized how that He does listen to my prayers and He also answered my prayers. And once I realized that, it just drew me closer to Him and I felt that He understood me. As a child, I was very different, awkward, and I was uncomfortable around people. The only place that I ever felt at home was at church. And I know it was because how I was raised, being that my mom was a pastor. Church was her life, and so church was our lives as well. And I just felt at peace when I was around the saints. I just felt that that was the only place to where I could go and I felt comfortable and that I could be myself. Another thing that God had put in me is that strangers with issues, they are drawn to me. People that no one else like talking to, the type people that have some issues. They seem to be drawn to me. And whenever I go to public places, it's like all I have to do is ask, how are you doing? And whenever I will ask them that, they will feel comfortable enough to actually tell me how they're doing. And the conversation would just go on and on. God had put that in me, and that's one of my gifts that He had given me. The type people that like me are usually the type people that no one else really wants to deal with because of their issues. I get attached to people very easily. Before my husband and I got married, we were living together in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and we worked together then. And the place that we worked at, my husband and I, we connected with the people and they really liked us. And I didn't realize how much they liked us until when we told them that we were going to move back down south. And a lot of them cried and they was really sad to see us leave. And I can remember even feeling so bad because I felt like that I wasn't going to see them anymore. And so I even cried when we got ready to leave. I didn't understand it then, but I do understand it now. God had put something special in me to where I really genuine cared about people. And whenever they would talk to me about any of their problems, I would listen. Most of the time I wouldn't give advice, but I would just listen. Another thing that God had put into me is that I love to see people's lives transformed. Even before I became a pastor's wife, I like to read books and also watch movies about people that have had difficulties in their lives and they overcame them and it changed their lives. Whenever I would read books about that or even watch movies, and still I'm like that to this day, it just always will make me cry because it was like I could feel the hurt that they went through. So that was a sign too that God had called me into ministry because that fits ministry. The number one thing that I think that God has put inside of me is that I fear Him. And in ministry, it's good to fear God. And because when you fear God, you're going to want to keep His commandments. You're going to respect Him and you're going to respect His work. You will understand that these are God's people, not mine. And so you want to handle them with care. And God put something inside of me to where I'm very sensitive. So I try to treat people the way that I want to be treated. And that goes really good in ministry because you're going to have to be able to get along with people, not only get along with them, but to treat them right. When you treat people right, it makes them love and respect you and trust you as well. So like I mentioned before at the beginning of this video, your life may be totally different from mine. You may not even have grown up into church, but it doesn't mean that God didn't put a call of God on your life. So for me, I didn't know. God never did just tell me that I'm preparing you to be a pastor's wife. I'm preparing you for ministry. But when I look back at my life now, I do realize that He was preparing me and certain things He put inside of me, it was to benefit the ministry. So if you feel that God has called you to marry a pastor, or if you're already married and your husband is considering becoming a pastor, I just want to encourage you and to let you know that if it's God's will, it will happen. All you have to do is prepare yourself. And you prepare yourself by drawing closer to God and by being aware of your behavior, watching your conduct. If it's God's will, when it's time, it will happen. So I hope that I was able to help you to know whether or not if you are called to live a life in ministry. If you enjoyed this video, leave a comment and just let me know it. And if you are a pastor's wife, please leave a comment as well. If you want me to make more videos about preparing yourself to be a pastor's wife, leave that in the comment too. If you enjoy my videos and you want to be a part of what I'm doing, join my community by subscribing to my channel and clicking on the notification bell. Make sure you stay tuned for the next upload. I'm going to be talking about common mistakes that young pastors' wives make. Thank you for tuning in. Bye.